As you know, as many of you know, the Urbino Press Award has two segments. The first one is this one, here in Washington, D.C., where the ambassador Willie announces officially the winner of the present year. And then, after a while, a couple of months, in Urbino, in the Ducal Palace, we have the ceremony with the winner, who's called to give. Now I'm honored to call here at the podium the ambassador Willie in the United States of America, Armando Varricchio.
Welcome. I had suggested to swap and having the possibility to be in Urbino to present the award, but eventually I'll meet there. But for the time being, I'm very fortunate and privileged to welcome you here. We've seen these beautiful images here. Great city that really gives the idea of what Italy is all about. A great regional market, history, tradition, glorious past, but at the same time and a very lively economy, a city that looks into the future, and which consider journalism particularly important. You might wonder what is the connection between such an important city that's left because of the many important personalities that are related to the city. What is the relation with journalism? I think that this has to do with the fact that in that very city there is an understanding that what is going on in the world nowadays, the ability to understand what is around us, has a direct impact on our daily life. So even for those citizens, very fortunate citizens by the way, who have the privilege to live in that city, the world matters. And this is the reason why Urbino now, we have reached the 11th edition, decided to go on with this very important and distinguished award. There is a connection with us. We do consider at the embassy that it is a great opportunity to promote the idea that we have of Italy, a very dynamic country looking into the future, but also to acknowledge the importance of journalism. And I do think that particularly nowadays it is important to promote, preserve and cherish good journalism. Today we have a good example of that. I know that this has been kept as a secret in the city. We wanted to make sure that nobody was aware of the name that will be awarded tonight. But having said that, I think that nobody really is more appropriate as a choice as the distinguished journalist that he awarded tonight. So my privilege is to unveil the name of the New York Times journalist Mark Mazzetti.
I am truly grateful for this honor, especially given the people who have received this award in past years. Many of those people who are both current and past colleagues of mine, as well as some very good friends. From Diane Rehm and Martha Raditz, Michael Weiskopf, Sebastian Rotella, Helene Cooper, Tom Friedman, Gwen Eiffel. The award has recognized people that I consider to be terrific journalists and whose work I've long admired. So it's with a great deal of humility that I get to be put on a list with these true professionals. Those who have won the award in the past have said the best part of the Urbino Press Award is, of course, the trip to Urbino. And so the award has acquired a reputation for being both the world's best looking and best tasting journalism prize. But I think it's different for other and more important reasons. Journalists like giving each other awards, not because we're always deserving of them. Certainly we often aren't. But because I think we generally respect what we do and like to recognize the good work of other reporters. And in the world of investigative journalism, there's a sense of shared purpose, working on stories that seek to uncover things that others, usually governments, don't want us to report. This has led to a period of particular, and I would argue even unprecedented tension in this country, crackdown on leaks, the intimidation of sources, investigation into sources, sources on particularly sensitive stories of national security. In short, the work of investigative journalists is under siege from many different directions. And in this often bitter climate, the Urbino Press Award is wonderfully unique and seems particularly enlightened. It is an award given not by another press organization, but by a city, a government, that rewards the work of journalists covering a broad spectrum of topics, from politics to finance to foreign affairs to national security. Urbino is a city that is truly proud of its rich heritage, but seems to view this heritage not in terms of past glory, but as something that is living and is current. The cities produce poets, painters, and philosophers. It is therefore such a wonderful compliment to journalism that Urbino has chosen to honor journalists to try to carry on the legacy, this legacy of open-mindedness. It is a wonderful tradition, and it's truly an honor to be just a very, very small part of it. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to visit the city.
2013, your book on the Shade of War that brought attention to one aspect of the war of these last few years. Not so typical in comparison to the past, the wars that the United States of America and other countries are fighting, because many things are not done under the light. Can you tell us something more about that, and what were the consequences of your book after 2013?
I think in my book and in a lot of my reporting, what I've tried to do is focus on the war that nobody sees, but is as important to the history of the past 15 years as anything that happened in Iraq or Afghanistan. The war in Pakistan and Yemen and Africa that I think has been sort of changed the way the United States, at least as a country, goes to war. And it's particularly important because most of it's done covertly. And so I think it's been the job of journalists and others to try to tell the history of this war, this shadow war, and that continues today. So what I tried to do in my book was tell it as much of the history that can be told at this point, of this history of the consequences of these kind of campaign and the pluses and minuses. And so the book came out in 2013, and it was interesting. About 2 months after that, President Obama gave a speech about the sort of need to be more transparent. And I'm not saying he did it because of my book, it just happened to be fortuitous timing. He talked about how we needed to be more transparent about how we go to war. If we have the CIA go to war, if you have the Pentagon doing it covertly with special operations, that we can't be doing this all in secret. And there were a lot of pledges of transparency that happened in that speech in May of 2013. And I think on balance, we've seen some of it, but their track record, I guess the grade would not be a good one on this transparency in the last 3 years. I think there's still a instinctive government the need to keep secrets, that we can't know what is happening. And as I said in my talk, the tension between the press that wants to reveal things, I think, for valid national security and public interest reasons, and the government fighting back. So I think that we will see the end of this administration where there's still a lot to be done. And if this is really the way we're going to be doing war in the future, it needs to be something that's done much more with, I think, public knowledge of what's happening.
Anybody from the audience? Oscar Tato, a good friend, journalist, colleague journalist from Washington, D.C.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My question is very long. Newspaper or news digital? What is the future?
I think that maybe the New York Times was later than some, but to realize it. But it's certainly, everyone recognizes that the future is not in newspaper. The future is in digital. And the question is how to be the New York Times, the Washington Post, the great journalistic institutions in the world, and maintain the quality while changing the way that they do business, way we do business. And so I've been fairly heartened in the last 3 or 4 years to see that the Times has gone through some big changes, and certainly the focus now for our daily life is far more on what is going to be online than tomorrow's newspaper, with the recognition that we can't just wait for things to be putting it in the paper the next day. We've managed, I think, to maintain a quality and still try to broaden our audience. It's very difficult. It's something that we kind of wrestle with every day, and it's not something I think that's going to shake out tomorrow or next year. It's going to be a process. But I actually think that if you talk to my colleagues and people who look at this industry, they would probably say they're more optimistic now than they were half a decade ago or a decade ago when there were a lot of dire predictions about the future of journalism. I think actually the future is quite good.
Are you ready to change your last name? Because in a matter of a few weeks, maybe, when we will arrange the trip to Urbino in Italy, nobody will call you Mazzetti anymore. You will be called Mazzetti, so you have to be ready to answer when they call you Mark Mazzetti. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Presidente, è la prima volta che lei viene qui in ambasciata?
La prima volta che vengo negli Stati Uniti, quindi la prima volta che vengo a Washington in ambasciata.
Questa è una bellissima città, lo sa che non è conosciuta dagli italiani in genere, perché l'equazione America per l'italiano è uguale a New York o forse a Miami, e non sanno che cosa perdono con questa città.
Hanno qualcosa in comune con le Marche, perché la nostra equazione è Roma, Firenze, Milano, Venezia, e invece esiste un'Italia più bella. Quindi abbiamo questa cosa in comune con Washington. Ho incontrato una responsabile di una società che gestisce incoming in questa città, che mi raccontava proprio il problema di far scoprire, far conoscere di più Washington. Chissà che da questo scambio non troviamo il modo per far conoscere meglio Washington in Italia e meglio le Marche negli Stati Uniti.
Allora, lei ha visto che la galleria dei premiati è di altissimo livello, compreso questo giovane Mazzetti di origine nemmeno troppo lontana italiana. E allora?
Beh, insomma, è un modo molto interessante per allacciare un rapporto, farlo attraverso il concetto di giornalismo di qualità, che ho potuto ascoltare anche come punto da difendere nel cambiamento sulle forme della comunicazione. Mi sembra quindi porre un riflettore su un tema che ha molto a che fare con le cose che accadono attorno a noi, con i cambiamenti che abbiamo di fronte. Noi attorno a questo tema vogliamo costruire una relazione più grande, che è la relazione fra un territorio e un altro, i quali esprimono normalmente grande interesse reciproco.
Lo sa, Presidente, che qui a Washington si segue con molta attenzione il Premier, Presidente Matteo Renzi, che è apprezzato non soltanto per la sua incredibile capacità di eloquio, ma soprattutto perché è un uomo del fare, e qui in America, a parte le vicende politiche attuali o delle primarie attuali, sono apprezzati gli uomini del fare, o anche le donne.
Io sono un forte sostenitore di Matteo Renzi, quindi mi fa piacere ascoltare questo tipo di giudizio. Concordo appieno, contro di lui in questo momento si stanno coalizzando per il referendum costituzionale, invece tutte le forze che potremmo anche definire del non fare. Quindi sarà un passaggio estremamente delicato e importante, avrà bisogno di tutto il sostegno per vincere quella che è una battaglia decisiva.
Auguri Italia!
Auguri Stati Uniti!